Whatever title you remember Diddy by, Puff Daddy, Diddy, or something else entirely, it doesn't matter anymore because Diddy will be remembered as a terrifying, insane, and miserable man who has brought chaos on this planet. The stuff he is charged with and the videos that are surfacing everywhere about his freak-off parties is unsettling to watch. Not one, but many recordings of Diddy's crazy parties are now being uploaded on the internet. His parties are not like any typical parties. They are packed with criminal activities that could traumatize a typical person.
Since last November, Diddy's been listed as a defendant in 11 civil suits. Like Cassie, producer Rodney Jones, known professionally as Lil Rod, also accused Diddy of sexual assaults. He alleges Diddy drugged him and forced Lil Rod to have sex with a prostitute. Lil Rod says his accusations can be corroborated with hundreds of hours of video and audio recordings, showing Diddy and his associates engaging in some serious illegal activity. When the federal raids were executed on Diddy's homes back in March, investigators collected electronic evidence for their case. Investigators collected 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lube, which really puts into perspective the severity and scope of these so-called freak-offs. These freak-offs were elaborate and produced sex performances that Combs arranged, directed, masturbated during, and often electronically recorded. Diddy would force victims to use drugs, have sex with prostitutes, and be recorded doing all this, sometimes without their knowledge. Again, all this was heard before Diddy's federal charges in multiple civil suits brought by survivors.
News of Diddy's freak-off parties and underground trafficking began to spread even before he was charged officially, and the indictment regarding them was made public. This was because numerous well-known figures came forward with accusations against Diddy. Cassie and Lil Rod are two prominent examples of these well-known individuals.
As part of all this, Diddy and his associates transported and caused to be transported commercial sex workers across state lines and internationally. One such sex worker, an unidentified male, says Diddy flew him from Atlanta to Miami for a freak-off just last year. According to TMZ, he spoke with federal prosecutors in New York on September 25th and then divulged key information to prosecutors about this freak-off. He says it happened in May 2023, and it involved himself, Diddy, and another woman. The escort says he had sex with the woman while Diddy watched and recorded. And apparently, the escort says he has a copy of this recording.
Even more, an anonymous man came forward and gave the feds a video clip in which he claimed Diddy had contacted him the previous year to do an intimate deed with a woman, while Diddy had simply sat there and recorded the performance.
We spent a lot of sidebar episodes so far breaking down the indictment, the charges, what might be to come, why they charged it this way. But now you see things that have come out. And I want to talk about this interview where Adi is rambling for a while and he's talking about different conspiracy theories. And then suddenly he mentions Combs.
Do you know Sean Combs?
Puff Daddy?
Yeah.
P. Diddy, whatever you call himself these days. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, he's part of what's called the Boule. The Boule is a branch of the Illuminati.
Okay.
It's the black people.
The Boule is a real thing. It's the senior leadership of Sigma Pi Phi fraternity. Our understanding, it's the oldest postgraduate fraternity founded by and for black men. It's been rumored that Sean Combs might be a member, but he's not. When you're interviewing somebody like this, who allegedly just shot up a public property, you have to take what he says with a grain of salt, I imagine, but you don't want to just ignore everything he's saying, right?
No, not at all. And you know what? I was always taught when you're doing an interview like that, you do more listening than you do talking. Because it's amazing what people will bring up when they're in the situation that this individual was in. People will give up anything they have in their back pocket, experiences they've had or who they've had them with will all come out during interviews like this. And you have to kind of break it into categories of believable, 50%, 25%, and 25%. You know, you have to break up what you're listening to, but you don't stop listening. There's a way to kind of go about doing it in not getting him off track. If he starts to go down a road that's really weird, you can always say, hey, hold on to that for a minute. The Diddy information is really interesting because that can be pushed back and seen if he's actually where he was at that time.
Not just him. Jonathan was another who told the cops about Diddy's freak-offs. In an interview, Retired NYPD Detective Tom Smith also stressed how crucial it is to pay attention to individuals like Jonathan in these circumstances. Tom went so far as to suggest that what Jonathan told was right all along.
In the filings that you say are coming, specifically you mentioned a 9-year-old boy. Can you tell us about what you know?
Let's remember we're talking about allegations. We're going to file a public filing where the allegation is going to be that a 9-year-old child was sexually assaulted, allegedly by Sean Combs. This young man now is very compelling, incredibly believable, and his story is corroborated by his parents. But of the 120, there are 25 that were minors at the time the incidents occurred.
Are those minors all adults now?
Yes.
I want to go back to the 9-year-old boy for a second. If he is filing this lawsuit, will it also lead to possible criminal prosecution?
I hope so.
Will you turn over information?
We're going to make any client, each of them, just their testimony alone is evidence that is willing. I'm going to encourage them to speak to the authorities.
You mentioned you're going to name names in these lawsuits. Will there be celebrity names?
I expect so, yes.
Do you also have corporations?
I do.
What will be the reaction, you believe, when these names come out?
I think people are going to be shocked. Let's not forget that a lot of these parties, whether it be after parties, white parties, whatever the parties were, these were well known. A lot of people really were jockeying to go to these parties. These were parties where a lot of well-known people attended. I think that there will be individuals who had parties at their residences, people that you'll know, people that attended the parties that watched some of this behavior occur when it happened again and never said a word about it, and in fact hushed it. There's a real culture of silence surrounding all of this. The most well-known secret in the industry. The general public didn't know it was happening, but I think many people within the entertainment industry were aware of some of the things that were going on or had heard rumors.
In addition, lawyer Tony Busby recently disclosed in an interview that a 9-year-old child intended to sue Diddy for alleged abuse. Tony also hinted that the presence of well-known celebrities at these parties will shock the general public. The fact that he mentioned that these celebrities were aware of what was happening at these parties but chose to remain silent is another evidence of how broken and unsettling the entertainment industry in Hollywood is.
Can you tell me now, is there evidence against any major celebrities that you have, and is there anyone that you can name at this moment?
I'm not going to name anybody right now, but I do have evidence.
Have you had a chance to actually see any videos or text messages?
All of the above, yes. And not for all 120 clients. I asked for corroboration. What texts, video, pictures, give me dates, venues, give me witnesses.
Have you seen things that have shocked you?
Yeah, I have.
What kind of conduct, though, can you tell us about that you've heard from? As you hear these stories over and over again, what are you hearing? I've
kind of put it in two different buckets. One bucket is young people trying to break into the industry, in some cases physically assaulted and then threatened. In other cases, the allegation, which is probably the more common allegation, is, at some party, somebody reaches out, sees somebody on the street or sees somebody in the crowd at a show, and somebody from Mr. Combs' entourage reaches out to that person and invites them to an after party. In order to stay, it's told you must drink this drink. So that's a pretty common allegation that's been made.
Attorney Tony added that he had seen a few of the videos and expressed horror upon seeing them. He further discussed how some people had come forward and claimed that Diddy's team had invited them to an after party where they were required to drink if they wanted to stay at the party.
The embattled producer, even though locked up, still faces nearly a dozen lawsuits already, most recently from another woman in Harris County who accused Diddy and his bodyguard of drugging, raping her, and recording the assault in 2001 when she was 25 years old. Talia Graves claimed she was dating an employee of Diddy's at the time. She said she learned Diddy recorded the crime and shared it to others to degrade and humiliate her. That lawsuit came a week after Diddy was indicted on charges of racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution.
Furthermore, Talia Graves, a woman, came out following Diddy's indictment, accusing Diddy and his bodyguard of drugging, raping, and taping her while she was being abused. She even claimed that Diddy humiliated her by showing the tape to other people. We can all agree that Diddy is surrounded by an army of monsters if what Talia is claiming turns out to be true.
Diddy party stories, they're our favorite genre of anecdote, if you have one, yeah.
Wow, okay, I've got a lot I can't tell. Can't tell that one either. I mean, I'm like actually cycling through them. There was one moment, so it's not really a party story, but our relationship was really bizarre. So it started over punked, because he was like, yo,
don't punk
you
me.
can't punk me. And I was like, I don't know what to tell you, everybody's on the table. He's like, not me, I'm off the table. We became fast friends, and we used to just hang out, watch football together.
This is Khloe Kardashian on an episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians where she talks about attending Diddy's butt naked party, and she talks about Justin Bieber being in attendance.
Yeah,
there
we go. Here we go.
Who was with you this weekend? A bunch of my friends. Diddy, Quincy, Justin Bieber, so far French so good. Montana. Do you even know half the people you're naming? No. She didn't go to bed. I want to be Clay when I grow up, Court. I got on a plane at 5:30 a.m. Go to this party. I think half the people there were butt naked.
There's one final clip. This is Diddy talking about locking women in rooms and turning up the temperature at his parties.
Look at this.
This is an older clip from the 2000s on Conan
but
O'Brien.
my point is, in plain sight, saying what he was.
We need alcohols.
Right.
Alcohols.
Right. Not just one alcohol.
Alcohols.
Right. Just different blend. You need the ladies. You need the booze.
You need some water.
For watering plants?
No, I don't know if guys have noticed this. Like, a lot of ladies drink water at parties. They just, so you have, if you don't have what they need, they're gonna leave.
Right.
Gotta keep them there.
Right.
You need locks on the doors.
Okay, this is sounding kind of dangerous now.
It's a little kinky, but probably, but just check it out. You need a lot of heat. A lot of heat. Yeah.
Heat? You mean that physically the place has to be hot?
You don't have no air conditioning.
No air conditioning?
No.
Why is that?
Heat affects the alcohol, and it also affects, like, everybody gets a little bit more comfortable and loose. Builds up a nice little sweat.
That just sounds disgusting. What are you doing?
Depends on the way you look at it.
Depends. Oh, people start getting it gets kind of sexy. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you sexy.
Well, locking girls up, put the air conditioner.
Yeah, well, he's called Black Epstein for a reason.
Moreover, a podcast featured a clip of Ashton Kutcher saying he stays away from questions about Diddy parties. Subsequently, a different video of Khloe Kardashian was shown in which she mentioned attending Diddy's naked party till 5 in the morning. Even Diddy has previously talked about his parties and how he locks the doors and kept water around for the women who preferred it, just to keep them at the parties. This might potentially also suggest that Diddy will stop at nothing to get ladies to attend his parties and then use them for his sexual desires. We can certainly conclude from all this that nobody paid attention to what Diddy had to say at the moment. They all just laughed along with him,